Good day, dear students. You are welcome to our today's lecture on the theme Pragmatics of Translation. The reproduction of pragmatics in translation. Lecture number 12. Please write down the plan of our lecture. Today we are going to study 3 points. First, the notion of pragmatics. Second, the dependence of translation on pragmatic direction of a text. Third, pragmatic functions of social linguistic factors. Pragmatics is relationships between the word and its users. Words in a language are related to certain reference which they designate and to other words of the same language with which they make up syntactic units. These relationships are called semantic and syntactic respectively. Words are also related to the people who use them. To the users of the language, its words are not indifferent, unemotional labels of objects or ideas. The people develop a certain attitude to the words they use. Some of the words acquire definite implications. They evoke a positive or negative response. They are associated with certain theories, beliefs, likes or dislikes. There are noble words like honor, freedom, and low words like cowardice, betrayal. Words can be nice or ugly, attractive or repulsive, and such relationships between the words and its users are called pragmatic. The pragmatic implication of a word is an important part of its meaning that produces a certain effect upon the receptor. Of even greater significance is the pragmatic aspect of speech units. Every act of speech communication is meant for a certain receptor. It is aimed at producing a certain effect upon him. In this respect, any communication is an exercise in pragmatics. Speaking about pragmatic aspect of speech units, we can say the following. Every act of speech communication is meant for a certain receptor. It is aimed at producing a certain effect upon him. Preservation of the pragmatic effect in translation is the primary concern of the translator. On the first stage of translating process, the translator tries to get the information contained in the source text. For that, he must have the same knowledge which the native speakers possess. On the second stage, the translator strives for providing the comprehension of the original by a receptor of the translator. The receptor belongs to a different language community he has different culture, and such differences can cause difficulties for the full understanding of an initial text. So, the task of the translator is to eliminate them, making necessary changes in the text of translation. Correlated words in different languages may produce dissimilar effect upon the users. An ambition in English is just the same of a quality which may evoke any kind of response, positive, negative, or neutral. Its counterpart, ambitia, is definitely not a nice word. When we consider not just separate words, but a phrase or a number of phrases, the problem becomes more complicated. The communicative effect of a speech unit does not depend on the meaning of its components alone, but involves considerations of the situational context and the previous experience. For example, the voters put an end to the general's political ambitions. In this sentence, the word ambition has a negative effect. And translation is: сайлаушылар генералдың саяси амбициясын бәсеңдетті. Next example. The boy's ambition was to become a pilot. In this sentence, the word ambition has positive effect. And translation is: баланың арманы ұшқыш болу еді. Speaking about reproduction of pragmatics in translation. For example, idealism, мінсіз болу. Nationalism, национализм, ұлттық сана, ұлттық құндылықтар. The dependence of translation on pragmatic problems are connected with the genre peculiarities of the original and the type of receptors for whom it is oriented. Translators come across many problems in translating the pragmatic potential of the works of fiction and poetry. These works in any language are addressed to people, the readers who speak the language of the author. They are of general human value and they are translated into other languages. In these works, we meet the description of traditions, customs, events, names of national dishes, and etc. These pragmatic differences between source language and target language need making necessary changes in the text of translation to let target language receptors get an adequate understanding of it. The dependence of translation of pragmatic direction of a text. Source language text or original refers to source language receptor, and target language text or translation refers to target language receptor. Examples of the dependence of translation on pragmatic direction. The strike movement in Spain is on the increase, Newsweek reports. Newsweek журналының хабарлауынша, Испанияда ереуіл қозғалысы өсуде. The Prime Minister spoke a few words from a window in number 10. The use of dialect forms in the original may have double character. First, the whole text may be written in a dialect of source language. Second, dialect forms may be used in a text with the purpose of language characteristics of some people. This describes pragmatic functions of social linguistic factors. Also, we can say that lexical elements of local and regional dialects are not transmitted in translation. The translation will be carried out like from any other national languages. For example, he has a good ear. Оның есту қабілеті жақсы. Reproduction of contaminated forms. First, when used without the purpose, translator finds the correct form for them and translates. Second, when used with a definite purpose, translator looks for a method to render into target language. Less often there is the necessity pragmatic reconstruction in the translation of scientific and technical materials oriented towards specialists. Such texts are easily understood by specialists speaking different languages, and explanations are given only to the words which refer to national units of measure. Specific problems are connected with the pragmatic aspect of texts oriented towards the receptor speaking a different language. These are various educational and propaganda texts, advertisements of goods, and etc. The translator is assigned his task and paid for it by the people for whom his work is an instrument for achieving their goals. The translator tries to make his work meet these extra translational requirements, introducing appropriate changes in the text of translation. The specific goal which makes the translator modify the resulting text often means that for all practical purposes he assumes an additional role and is no longer just a translator. In pursuit of his plans, the translator may try to simplify, to abridge, or modify the original message, reducing the degree of equivalence in his translation. Thank you for your attention.